don't really know how people view me. I feel like most people have kind of in their mind's eye what they look like to other people, or, they kind of know what other people are going to think about them. Before I started testosterone, I assumed that even if I was passing for a little while, it would eventually be really obvious that I was physically a woman. And in fact, I kind of assumed that people would see me as a woman or a lesbian unless they were not really paying attention. So I kind of had that expectation, and it was negative, but at least I knew what was going on. Well, now I pass as male even to people who are paying attention, and I don't really know if it's obvious when I say I'm trans, if people really know what that means, or if I don't really know how to put it into words. I guess I'll give an example. Last night I was on a panel about talking about gender neutral housing at my university. We don't have it, but we were talking about how to kind of like get the ball rolling on that. And I introduced myself and said that I was transgender. And I wondered if people knew that meant that I was a trans man, that I'd been born a woman, or if people thought that I wanted to be a woman, or like if people really knew. Like, I didn't know how people were reading my gender. And I guess you can never really know how everyone is going to read your gender, because even if you identify as male and like you have a male body 100% and everything, if you have longish hair, sometimes people are going to think that you're female. And even women I know who identify as women, were born women and everything like that. Basically what I'm saying, even cisgender people sometimes don't know how other people are going to gender them. So how are trans people supposed to know how they're going to be gendered all the time? I've noticed that I am passing a lot. I went to a conference last weekend, and I was directed to the men's bathroom, things like that. And I wasn't even being read as significantly younger. A lot of people thought that I was a graduate student, which was surprising to me because I'm a junior in college, and I know I look young. So that was cool, but I also wondered, were they reading me as older because they assumed that I was a lesbian, especially in liberal circles, and I would consider a sociology conference, which is what this was, to be a more liberal circle in general. People are looking for gender variance, and they're very open-minded, and so whereas in a small conservative town, a person with short hair and a deeper voice who dresses in male clothing is going to be assumed to be male, I, could be assumed to be just gender variant or something like that in a more liberal environment. So I wasn't exactly sure how it was being read. I went to the GLBT caucus thing during the conference, and I think that initially I was read as a gay male. I outed myself as trans because I'm interested in getting into a gender studies program, and I was talking about that interest and like where it came from. But at first, I'm almost positive that I was being read as a gay male because several comments were made about straight people. Not like they were joking, and it was clear that it wasn't like intended to be offensive, but like, oh, breeders, things like that. And so obviously they assumed that everyone in the room was gay, and they also made a comment about how there were no lesbians present. Like, it's all us gay men. So it was like clear that I was being included into that group, which is very interesting because later I found out another trans man was there who identifies as straight and is actually married to a woman. So it was funny kind of thing about how this assumption that everyone's going to be gay at a gay event and that everyone is going to be cisgender. I guess the sort of the whole experience for me right now has been to move from assuming that I'm not going to pass to assuming that I am. And I know that this all seems like I'm either trying too hard or thinking about it too much. I know a lot of cisgender friends I have been like, why do you worry about those things? Or, you'll get over it, or um, things like that. But I have a lot of experience with being concerned about how I'm being read, not just for my personal comfort, but to know what people's expectations are. Because I have, even before I came out as transgender, from the time I was 14 and first cut my hair, I've been dealing with being read in conflicting ways. And the way you are being read is very important, and knowing that's very important, because if you're being read as male, there are certain expectations. There's a certain way that, I don't know, like, this sounds very sexist, but when people treat, or binary, or something, I don't really know how to describe it, but when people treat you as male, at least for me, in order to make the interaction more comfortable, I like to behave in a way that doesn't challenge that assumption. The same as when I'm being read as female, I generally don't correct people. That's just in my personality not to, and I generally just sort of go along with it, more or less. I'm a very socially awkward person, and I just want whatever is going to make the social interaction the easiest, and so I can navigate it comfortably and get out of there. So that's kind of the main issue in my transition right now. Um, I'm sure that it will change as I get more facial hair, as my voice deepens. I don't really know if it's going to continue to deepen, but I assume it will. And I hope that it gets easier. I'm not entirely sure, because after being used to not being read as one or the other for the past 6 or 7 years of my life, it's going to be a hard adjustment to get used to being read unequivocally as male. So, but I am looking forward to that. So.